What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Today we are here at Colonial Acres and we are looking at destroyers versus time lapses again. This time a little bit more plastic similarities. This is the Pearly Proton versus a Luster Champ destroyer. This might get interesting, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Let's start throwing. Now, the time-lapse is the new and retooled time-lapse 12.5-1.2. It's the 03 worked out for an overstable, but it was way more overstable than Simon Lizotte wanted the slot to be. So this has a nice little bit of a stand-up and a consistent fade. And being that it is a Proton time-lapse, you're probably going to see a little bit less stand-up and a little bit more fade than you would out of a Neutron time-lapse. In steps Destroyer. Based off of dome, Destroyer has more dome. Based off of nose hump, obviously Destroyer is going to win that battle as well. Based off of parting line, fairly similar actually. The time-lapse might be slightly more angled down, but with the gyro, we'll see what happens. And max weight 172, so not technically max weight, versus 167. Let's see how this functions. Hole number one, we're going to go ahead and just throw a nice little forehand time lapse first. Good. Stand up, push nice and straight, but it's not going to unless you're trying to really crush it. Let's see what this destroyer does. Okay, there, what we saw was, obviously, I think the destroyer might end up being a little bit more overstable. Just in general, it's a destroyer versus a time-lapse, and the time-lapse not supposed to be that overstable. But the dome on the destroyer, being that it's a much more pop-top dome versus the raised shoulder, but pretty generally flat time-lapse. The time-lapse is going to feel more comfortable off of a forehand, at least the way that I throw forehand. So that being said, we saw a cleaner, smoother, more controllable flight out of the time-lapse than we saw out of the destroyer. So we're going to give 0.1 to the time-lapse. Skip hole 2, go straight to hole number 3, 443 feet. Interesting wind for this. It's kind of a cross tailwind, so we might actually be able to push decently far up to the gap. This hole, though, you want to push on a hyzer past the light white colored tree right there. And the more I throw this hole, the more I discovered you actually want to basically throw at the tree and have it flip off of it. We'll see what the destroyer does. I think I can get the right shot with the time lapse, but this tailwind, again, is going to make it interesting. Well, I didn't throw it at the tree, but that's going to be pretty good for the fairway. It's like right in the gap. So not 443, probably more in that 400-foot range, but that's fine because, as my watch just told me, I have just crossed the 2,000 calorie mark, and I am about a quarter mile, less than a quarter mile from the 20-mile mark. Because work, yeah, I'd say that's pretty good for as exhausted and worn out as I am. Let's see what this destroyer does for us. Okay, came out a little bit more of a flat release. Oh my goodness. There, we're going to see the difference between the 172 and the 167. Oh my word. Now, tailwind makes discs stable out faster. But if you have a lighter weight disc, you can get it up to speed faster. It's going to maintain that speed faster, so it's not going to get pushed around by the tailwind as quickly. Also, based off of that throw, I think those two discs might be very similar stabilities. I think we're going to see a little bit more of a more of a flip-up play out of the Timelapse. But overall shot shape, I think they're going to be very similar. That Destroyer might have gone 440, pin high, just dead straight into the fairway. So that might be a bomber disc. I think we're going to give 0.2 to the Destroyer because it's almost 100 feet past. Wow. It definitely was a tailwind on the last hole because it is definitely a headwind on this hole. Again, it's not very strong wind, but it is enough to move the towel. 385. I've been loving the time lapses, but is the Destroyer too good? I think we're gonna go just outside hyzer. Keep them on a hyzer, release them on a hyzer, see if they stand up, see if they fade. Stood up a little bit. Yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, I pulled through on that and rolled my wrist, so it flexed. So based off of the shot we were trying to achieve, the Destroyer wins another point. Nothing against the time lapse there. That is 100% massive amounts of user error. It's cold. I'm exhausted. I rolled my wrist. What can you say? I'm just glad nobody was on hole 3, because that was would have been an interesting flight there. Now, I do also want to go ahead and say, as basically a caveat, that the time lapse will probably not leave the bag even if the Destroyer wins the battle. The reason for that is this is a factory second. This is one of the last discs that I bought off the used rack at another on Nashville before I left the region. The likelihood of me being able to find more Luster Champion Destroyers is very, very, very slim. Now, it may be a great disc. It might be one of the best Destroyers I've ever thrown, and right now it's flying amazing, but I can't get more of those. I have 2 more of these, and I know a place where I can get them. So the time lapse will probably not be leaving the bag, but this Destroyer is outperforming right now. About 400 feet, hole 6. Let's see how our distance is feeling. It's going to need to be a little bit of a flex line. Okay. Perfection. Oh, I didn't turn that enough. Did not turn that enough. Well, like I said, it is outperforming. I have not spent enough time with the time lapse to learn the angles of control for those turnovers. We might have to try that again on this next hole. But because I know Destroyers they just are stable, and I know what a Destroyer is capable of, I can trust it on some aggressive turnover lines. And that was actually more aggressive than I was anticipating putting that on, but it worked out. The time lapse, I probably threw the time lapse on the line that I wanted to throw the Destroyer on, and just didn't commit to that crunching the nose quite enough. Destroyer taking 3 points. Time lapse only with 1, but again, there is that caveat where sustainability, reliability, and replaceability. I might have to do some more research to see where I can find some Luster Champion, because it's phenomenal. I can't rely on a disc that I only have 1 of, though. That's the problem. Now, can I find more champion destroyers? Absolutely. That's not a problem. The problem is most champion destroyers you get do not look like this. They look like that. They're perfectly board flat and very aggressively overstable, which is in and of itself a very useful disc to have and a very useful shot to have. But for that distance with stability shot, you do want some of that dome. This is a dome because of the shoulder. This is a dome because it's Innova. Let's see what we can do on this hole. 447 uphill. I have never thrown this far ever in my entire life. Not uphill. So let's see what we can do. There's that destroyer stability. Ooh, nice little stick too. It's good. Let's see if we can't get the time lapse on a flex. Yeah, maybe. It was a flex. But here's the thing. Very calm right now. I've seen that I've seen that time lapse turn and almost burn, but still hold on, because it has, for some reason, surprising stability for a 12 speed that's rated as a -1.2. I don't know why it does what it does, but I think these are very, very similar stabilities. Again, the time lapse is probably going to be a little bit more lenient on that. You can throw it on some hyzer and still get the shot you're looking for out of it, whereas the destroyer is just, you got to throw it flat if you want it to flex, or you got to actually come over on it if you want it to flex. Both of those are great shots. Both of those are extremely useful. And the destroyer is going to win the battle today. But as I already highlighted, this is one of those where I don't think I'm getting rid of this destroyer. This destroyer is too good. I just have to find more before I can reliably bag it. So for the time being, it will still be the Pearly Proton time lapse. Hopefully you guys enjoy content like this. If so, please make sure to like the video. If you want to see new stuff, make sure to comment all of that down below. Please make sure to subscribe. It helps you guys out with these subscriber-only giveaways. If you want to be automatically entered into monthly giveaways, check out the memberships as well. Until next time, see you out on the course.